Hi, my name is Al.
And my name is Al.
And welcome to OwlBerry.
Dragon Ball Super's a letdown. The movie's a letdown, the anime's a letdown, and unfortunately, so is the manga. So much so, we've decided to break down all the arcs in Super.
We begin with a brief recap of the Buu arc before we're introduced to Goku alone on a tractor looking bored out of his mind. Shortly after, Goten flies in and gives Goku a rather conservative amount of food for him. After finishing his meal, Goku does some vision training and he starts imagining all the previous villains in Z. This is actually really great fan service as it completely falls in line with Goku's character. Of course he would envision the most powerful enemies in his training. However, there are already some flaws that can be seen here. In its cluttered paneling, confusing choreography, and sometimes poor line art. None of these issues are too big to complain at the moment, but it is a cause of concern when the first chapter already has underwhelming art.
We are then introduced to Beerus, who's enjoying a full course meal provided by a bug's life, before they attempt to poison him, in which he decides to blow up the planet as punishment. Beerus then mentions a dream, and then we cut back to Goku and Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan then offers Goku 100 million Zenny for saving the universe. It's a nice callback to Z, and an excuse for Goku to go train with King Kai. We then cut back to Beerus, who reveals the dream was a Super Saiyan God. Let's see how this goes. Chapter 2 begins with Goku training on King Kai's planet before Beerus interrupts and Goku gears up for a fight, without the knowledge on who his opponent is, and inevitably it leads to a beatdown by Beerus. There are some really striking images in this fight, a good sense of movement throughout, and the panels allow for more details in the art to be processed. We especially like this panel when Goku is chasing after Beerus, although he seems to be missing his arm. Now there's nothing special about this fight, but it gets the job done. The one issue I have is, why did Beerus let Goku live? They never explain it.
We begin with Goku waking up after his fight with Beerus, and this is actually where the anime and the movie take time to reintroduce our favourite characters. So, how does the manga handle this? It doesn't. It just skips it. I've been trying to wrap my head around this for years because I still haven't figured out why they would do this. I mean, other than the fact that they're trying to sell another product. Look, I don't want to consume a product that's telling me to consume another product just to understand the product. Instead, we get what is now our third fight scene. And if you're wondering how many of those scenes were important, 1. The scenes that were cut were pivotal to developing Beerus, both as an interesting antagonist as well as a potential ally. It's something that's rarely ever been done before, and without that context, it's just a purple cat beating people up. And whilst that can be interesting if the fight scenes were well done, it lacks any real heart, making everything in this arc completely redundant. If you're going to skip the most important scene, just skip the arc in general. I mean, they do that with the other one. And whilst this is a nitpick, why is Gohan wearing the Z Fighter uniform? In the movies he's wearing the GT Saiyaman uniform, which I can understand, it's portable and conceals his identity. But where did he get the Z Fighter uniform? It really just feels like it's here for fan service.
I'll hold him off. Get the others to safety. Yeah.
A few moments later.
Why are you the way that you are?
The rest of the chapter doesn't play out much better. Gotenks charges after Beerus, and just when you think it might be an interesting fight, Beerus just spanks them, and then Bulma interrupts and then he hits her. What I'm really confused about is why he just hit her. Why wouldn't that kill her? He's Beerus, god of destruction. You would think that he would do some destroying. And I understand this is the first arc, you want to introduce fans into a lively, entertaining arc. But if that's the case, maybe don't set up your antagonist to be the most threatening thing in Dragon Ball. Now of course, every single issue I've listed here has been rather small, but when you put them all together it stacks up high. But all of this pales to the real issues. Chapter 4 begins with Goku turning into a Super Saiyan God.
What?
By the second page.
What?
And it's told through narration.
What? So let's break down everything wrong with this, starting with design. Goku looks terrible here. I mean, look at his previous transformations. Now back to this. Now back to his previous transformations. Now back to this. You see what I mean?
You're goddamn right.
Look, it's obvious this is an uninspired design, and maybe we're asking for too much. But we do not want a cross-eyed Goku as a transformation. And maybe it wouldn't be so bad if the transformation was done well. But it's worse than the design itself. What used to take an incredible amount of training and emotion has been replaced by a damned ritual. A ritual told through narration. You know, the most uneventful way to tell a story for the evolution of the most impactful moments in manga. So imagine you head home to see the latest chapter of Frieza vs Goku, and it's something you've been anticipating for a while, but instead, you see this.
The next man on Frieza's hit list, Goku's best friend, Krillin. The loss of his friends and their radical acts of unselfishness caused a transformation in Goku that he had never experienced before.
See, it sucks, right? So why does Toyotaro do it here? This panel especially bugs me, because this is the moment we discover that Videl is pregnant. Yet again, told through narration. But moving on from that. This is the only reaction we get from Gohan. He has more lines dedicated to Goku's transformation than he does to finding out that Videl is pregnant. I thought they were supposed to love each other.
Your love is weird!
This isn't just isolated to Gohan either. How does the original crew feel about Goku becoming a granddad? They seemed pretty shocked when he was just a dad. Or Chi-Chi being a grandmother. How does Piccolo feel that he will be a granddad and that his son is grown up so much? And worst of all, how does Vegeta feel that Kakarot has once again surpassed him? Good luck figuring that out, because this isn't enough. Alright, moving on from there. On our left is God of Destruction Beerus versus Super Saiyan God Goku. Let's see how it goes.
And it sucks. But before I can explain why it sucks, I need to explain to you what makes a good fight scene. And to do that I need to use comparisons, so I decided why not use Raditz' fight compared to Beerus' fight. They both do the same thing for Dragon Ball, they're kind of a fresh beginning. So with all that being said, let's get into it. What makes a good fight scene? A good fight scene requires three things: context, clarity, fluidity. Context is rather simple to understand. Why are they fighting, and why do I care that they're fighting? Now if we look at Dragon Ball Super, the reason they're fighting is quite clear. Beerus wants to fight a powerful Super Saiyan, and Goku wants to fight Beerus as well as save the universe.
I will not let you destroy my world!
However, what is not clear is why we should care about Goku and Beerus fighting. The stakes here are far too high for us to believe there's any amount of danger coming their way. And if we look at the Raditz fight, there's already a major improvement. Goku and Raditz are brothers. There's already a natural tension there that can't be shared with anyone else. It's actually what leads to Goku's demise in the Raditz fight. Raditz uses this against him a couple times to both lure him in as well as defeat him. Now, admittedly, death in Dragon Ball is far less impactful due to the revival aspect of the show, but Akira Toriyama was really smart about this. So the tension doesn't come from whether or not Goku's gonna live or die, as we know that either way he will come back. The tension comes from will they take Gohan, and whilst we personally don't know Gohan yet, we naturally want to keep him alive. He's a child, so our instincts kick in and we desperately want to make sure they're safe. But regardless, we'll move on. Let's look at the other two, clarity and fluidity. Starting with clarity. Clarity is all about the fight itself. You should be able to tell what is being done, the distance between the start and the end of the action, as well as the impact it had on the opponent. So if we look at this panel in Z, we can immediately tell what has happened. Let's break it down. If we look at the point of Raditz's foot, we can see a complete contrast between the white background and the black foot. We then follow up his leg until we come across the impact circle. Then we move once again until we come across Goku, where we can see two layers of contrast. One, Goku's body is completely white contrasting to the black background, and two, Goku's hair is completely black contrasting to his completely white body. So now let's look at Super. Yeah, there's already an issue here. Whilst it does convey movement and we're able to tell where Beerus began and ended his action, there's a huge issue in contrast. Everything in this panel is grey. Goku's hair is grey, Beerus is grey, even the page is grey. Nothing stands out. And it doesn't help that Goku's face is morphed, so we can't even see his expression, probably due to them having to put so many panels into one page. Which brings us to fluidity. Fluidity is all about dynamic tension. No one scene can stay the same. Now there are 3 ways to successfully do dynamic tension: the rise, the shift, and the struggle. The rise is all about tension increasing. This is what typically happens when one character has the upper hand.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally?
The shift is when the character who previously had the upper hand, typically the villain, shifts over to the other character, typically the hero. Most superhero movies do this nowadays.
I am inevitable.
And finally you have the struggle, both the outcast and the most inclusive. See, the struggle holds both the rise and the shift. The only difference is it's not delegated to just one character. That's why you typically see it with rivals, as if one loses, they can always chalk it up to luck. Now allow me to explain how this is not only applied to Dragon Ball, but manga in general. See, manga pages are often split up into several panels, each panel containing its own shot. But manga isn't a storyboard, it has to do more than just convey information within its limited space. This is where you can tell the exceptional mangakas apart. It's not just about being a great artist, but knowing how to delegate your panels. And the best way I've seen this done is through what I'm going to call dominant and submissive panels. And the best way to explain to you what I mean by this is to show you my favourite moment in the Raditz arc. If you look at the panels on screen right now, you might notice a consistent pattern. Raditz is nearly dominating every single page. That's because he's got the upper hand. Even when Goku grabs his tail, Raditz is still the focus, because he's the one still in charge. He manipulates Goku. There's no moment where he's actually overwhelmed by them. Until Gohan finally breaks out of his pod, and an interesting thing happens. He dominates the pages. Because whilst Gohan might be the underdog in this situation, Raditz isn't prepared for him to show his true strength. It's only after Gohan finally hits Raditz and returns to his normal state does Raditz reclaim the dominating status. There's a communication through paneling that simply isn't explored in the Beerus fight. Tell me, who's supposed to be winning here? Yeah, I can't tell either. And when they finally get it right, it's over. That was everything we hate about Dragon Ball Super's Beerus arc. Thank you so much for watching our video. Please subscribe if you liked it. My name's Owl.
And my name's Al.
And this has been OwlBerry.